All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the Gaming Stadium. We are live from Vancouver, British Columbia, in the beautiful country of Canada. My name is AxelToss, and I'm a huge fan of the Pacific Northwest, so I thought I'd come up to Vancouver and hang out at this really cool venue. You can see the stage behind me we have two players getting ready on the stage right now, getting ready to play in the second round of this Starcraft tournament. We have $1,500 on the line. And we have a development because two more players showed up during round one, and we were able to sneak them into the bracket because two of the players had buys, so it worked out actually really nicely. So we went from 10 players to 12, and now we have two groups of six. Two groups of six are going to be competing here in a round robin, and this is going to be the second round. So it's still going to be the top four advancing to a double elimination 8-person bracket. So we're trying to see which players will emerge from the group stages. In match number one, we saw Shrimp against Stealthy, Protoss versus Protoss. Stealthy was able to win that 2-0 in their best of three. Stealthy represented by Psystorm Gaming, I believe. Pretty sure about that. He had a jersey on, Psystorm Gaming. And shout out to, I know some folks at Psystorm. And I'll shout out Archnog. He's one of those I know. One of those guys. I think he's in the management with Psystorm Gaming. So he might be tuning in or checking this out. So shout out to him and shout out to Psystorm Gaming and them having a representative here. Stealthy might be a favorite. But now we're going to move on into, I believe this is coverage of the next group. And in the last round, we covered group one, and now we're going to get some coverage of the next group. We have a matchup between, yes, we got Archnog in the chat. I knew it. I was like thinking about it, and I'm like, there's a chance. And he's there. So shout out to Archnog. Let's hang out, man. We got to hang out, man. Let's make it happen. But we're going to be moving on to Wilo versus LaughNgamez. Both of these players were 1-0. Excuse me, both these players are 1-0. They both won their first matchup, their first best of three. So this should be exciting. We got two players who won their first best of three, and now they're going up against each other, clearly trying to find out. Obviously, whoever wins this one is going to have a great standing in the group. Not only being 2-0, but also taking out another player who has been successful in the group. It's very good for your chances to actually win the group. So a very critical game here between these two guys. I also see UBC hoodie on Wilo, I believe that is, on the right. Wilo's got that UBC hoodie, which is a university here. I'm not sure exactly where it is. I'm a little rough on my Canadian geography, but in the country of Canada, UBC exists. And I know they have a very vibrant esports community. So interesting to see some representation from some colleges being involved in this event, and also representations from pro teams. Of course, once again, Stealthy from Psystorm in the house. But here we go, game one of this best of three in the top right-hand location. We have our Red Zerg player, Wilo, in the bottom left. Yeah, there we go, top right. There is Wilo, the Red Zerg. And in the bottom left, of course, Wilo representing UBC. And then in the bottom left, the man who keeps pausing and apologizing, which is okay. We have LaughNgamez. I like his name. LaughNgamez. That's as positive as you can get, to be honest, which we need in the world, and especially in the StarCraft ladder. I feel like it'd be hard to get upset at him. If you're playing him on the ladder and his name is LaughNgamez, like, are you really going to be upset and, like, be angry at him? Probably not, because he's got such a cool name. But unless he's a cheeser, then it's always valid to be upset. But again, this should be a good game here. LaughNgamez again, 1-0, 1 win, 0 losses. Wilo also, both these players undefeated. So here we go. Terran versus Zerg. I like it. Terran versus Zerg. Of course, last match we had a Protoss versus Protoss, which is pretty fun to see. We saw some cheesy shenanigans. I don't want to say cheesy. We saw some creative early strategies from Shrimp in the last game, and it did not end up panning out. It didn't end up panning out perfectly for him. He ended up losing 0-2. So we'll have to see if we take a twist here. If we see more early creative shenaniganry strategies, or are we going to see more standard play? And for now, everything looks relatively normal. There might be a good amount of respect between these two guys as they both realize they're undefeated. So they're like, all right, let's play it safe, and we'll play nice and even. Play kind of a basic build order. In game 1 of a best of 3, the map is World of Sleepers, Ladder Edition. I want to live on that world. World of Sleepers. That sounds. Sleeper as a label. I enjoy sleep. So pretty cool. I think I would hang out on this map, take a little nap often. But yes, best of 3 here. And again, we're seeing relatively standard play, so we'll have to see what route these guys go. All right. See our Terran player. Supply depot going down, Nexus Command Center. Very standard stuff all the way through here. We got a factory coming out, reactor on the way, Zergling speed from the Zerg. Very standard stuff. World of Sleepers, it's a big map. We got a big map here. If you look at the mini map and just count all those mineral patches right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16 mineral patches on this map. That's a lot of resources available for both these guys. So there's a chance we get an hour-long game here. Wouldn't that be fun? The longest game I've ever casted was 2 hours and 20 minutes. A little bit of trivia: if you know what event that was in the year, you will get a prize. Let me know in the chat. And also, who were the players? I commentated a 2 hour and 20 minute Starcraft match at a live LAN game with a live audience. And it was so long that I think I was initially commentating with Rotterdam. And In Control was there. And In Control, I actually had to tag out because I think I was a little sick too. I actually had to tag out of the game, and In Control took my spot to finish out the game. I think something like that happened. So it turned from a 2-person commentary to a 3-person commentary, and it was 2 hour and 20 minute ordeal. It was in the era of the Swarm host being particularly annoying, and that is what elongated the game. But the point of the story is we got a huge map here, and we got these guys. They're playing by the book right now, playing pretty standard. Ooh, actually, we're seeing some fun stuff happening, which I'm going to mention in that production tab. We have some interesting things happening in that production tab right now. As I was mentioning, the standard kind of builds are seeing the potential for a long game. We see a building called the Fusion Core being created by the Blue Terran Layer, which is indicative of an early battle cruiser, which is one of the most powerful Terran units in the Terran arsenal. And we're at 4 minutes and 30 seconds right now in this game. And we might have a battle cruiser in production very soon. Meanwhile, our brilliant observer highlighting those Hellions in play as the battle cruiser gets started. Get ready. See, you know, in my games in StarCraft, I actually ran against a battlecruiser or two before it became popular, and I'm like, why don't Terrans do that more often? It's such a good unit. And we're seeing it more. We're seeing it in the GSL. We're seeing it in pro matches all around the world, just the early battlecruiser plays. And some people might be like, oh, it's cheesy. Oh, it's early and creative. But it's effective. It's a unit that is a beast. And with the teleportation technology that the Terran has, somehow you're able to zip those battlecruisers across the map incredibly quickly, and they dish out the firepower. So the trick here is, can Wilo identify that this is going on? Lots of queens on defense. Got a really early third base. He might be a little bit nervous because he's been pumping drones. He's been pumping drones, taking expansions, being passive. And he might be like, well, we haven't seen too much aggression from my opponent. He might be feeling a little nervous right now. I know I would be. Something else that you can kind of note, obviously for Wilo, seeing all these Hellions, those are alarm bells. If you see a bunch of Hellions, it tells you a couple things. First, it means that your opponent has been making Hellions from factory for a while, which means your opponent got a factory pretty early, which means it's likely they got a starport pretty early. The next thing you can gather from that is that Hellions only cost minerals. So if you see 6 to 8 Hellions at 4 minutes in the game, you know your opponent got an early factory, probably an early starport, and is banking a lot of gas. So you can actually intuitively maybe figure out that your opponent is going battlecruiser just by those little things, if you're really able to identify that. At the very least, you're feeling nervous. You're feeling a little scared because you know there's an early factor. You know there's potential for starport stuff. So that's why we're seeing the spore crawlers and the naturals of the Zerg player just to stay super defensive. And now he is aware of the battlecruiser. I like the skin on this battlecruiser from LaughNgamez. I like the strategy. And I've always had so much trouble as a Protoss player dealing with the battlecruiser. And actually, I play random, so even with Zerg, I have trouble dealing with battlecruiser. So I'm going to watch very closely to see how Wilo handles this. He's got some queens coming forward, trying to transfuse those queens. It's always a really good thing you can do playing Zerg. Just get a bunch of queens out, focus on transfusing each other. But there you see that teleportation technology in play from LaughNgamez, being aggressive with that battlecruiser. But as he got low in health, zipping out of there with that teleport. So really, again, that's what you can do with the battlecruiser these days. And the queens, it's going to take a while to take down those battlecruisers. So also, the battlecruiser is able to be repaired. So if you're able to send that battlecruiser back home, you're able to repair it right back on up. And I think this is actually the second battlecruiser from LaughNgamez, and I think he has a third one on the way. So he's about to have 3 battlecruisers on the field, I believe, once this next one finishes. Yep, just finishes then. So we have 3 battlecruisers on the field now with 1 more in production. As we see, only battlecruisers and Hellions are the only attacking units from LaughNgamez right now. The Queen's still trying to do some damage, one getting low, nice transfuses so far. Wilo, how is he going to stop this? He has only 1 Queen in production right now. I'd almost have 4 Queens in production right now. Okay, look, he just added some Queens in that production tab. Okay, that's good. That's what we're looking for. Because it's like, okay, how do you deal with the battlecruisers? What do you do? Do you build a bunch of spore crawlers? Do you build hydras? Do you build corruptors? Do you just make more queens? And we actually see a lot of Zerg players kind of default with heavy queen production, which I'm a fan of, because you're able to get your creep spread going, you're able to inject your hatcheries, you're able to have the ability to build more hatcheries and support those pretty quickly. And queens are some of the best, queens are energy units, so they have spells they can use, which can be effective over time. Queens have a decent amount of health, and queens can shoot also both up and down, and also queens are range units when they're shooting up. So there's a lot of pros to that queen unit. It's going to be really strong as we see some more battlecruiser teleportations happen. It's a player called Spanishiwa who really made the queen play very popular a few years back, maybe more than a few years back. He had a build where he went straight to 3 hatcheries and then like 6 queens in the first like 3 minutes or something crazy like that, and had some strategies that are just mass queen. So for now, this is really interesting as we see that units tab. The number of drones for Wilo there, 89. He was just at 90. That is a staggering amount of drones. That is, obviously it's too much. You don't even want that many, but obviously he's gonna build some buildings with those drones, so he's gonna lose those eventually anyway. But really amping up that economy. If we can look at the resources, there's like a cumulative resources. There it is, income tab. This is fun to look at, and especially that minerals right there. Actually, both minerals and gas, you can see just that clear advantage from Wilo. And what's more impressive here is that the Terran has mules, so it's already a little inflated for the Terran, yet we see LaughNgamez there hovering right around 3,000 minerals, which is hovering like 400 or 500 ahead of LaughNgamez. But now we see a pretty focused attack here. Some investors coming out on the field. We got those Hellbats coming forward, those Hellions turning into those and trying to get some drone damage done. And actually doing a great job. We could see Wilo down to 76 workers now, and he was just at 90. So just with that attack, 20 or so workers have been lost, and the battlecruiser are doing more damage across the map as Zerglings run by, not as successful. And I'm actually curious if our observer can hit the letter L. The letter L. Units lost, one of my favorite tabs here. 26 units lost from LaughNgamez, 148 units lost from Wilo, and you can see the resources difference. So LaughNgamez clearly doing a ton of damage here in the early stage of this game. Not losing a lot of units, but again, his units are a bit more expensive, so very important to keep those alive. So Wilo, we can see in that units tab, he's got investors, we've got swarm hosts, we've got corruptors, we've got banelings, we've got queens. With a wide portfolio, he'd be a good investor. Wide portfolio here of units. for Wilo, where we have a more focused array of units from LaughNgamez. Just battlecruisers and just Hellions, like literally has been what's going on for him. So, will the diversity in the Zerg portfolio lead to an advantage for Wilo? For me personally, I'll be honest, the more diverse my portfolio gets in StarCraft, I can't handle it sometimes. Like, I play Protoss mostly, I play random, but when I play Protoss, I guess it's most relevant because you're having to balance your units, your spellcasters, and then once you get into the multiple spellcasters, in particular, like, let's say you have High Templars and, like, Phoenix, that's where I just run out of control groups and it gets very difficult to control. So that's kind of a concept to keep in mind here. The more diverse units you have, the more difficult it's going to be to control all that, because you have a lot of different units, a lot of different spells, a lot of different things you have to control to make sure everyone's in the appropriate location. You can't just box everything and do something. It's not possible. So we'll see how this pans out. Thor's coming out on the field, and Tanks, a very powerful unit composition here from LaughNgamez, going purely into the mech. And lots of upgrades supporting that as well. And continuing to be aggressive on the right side of the map. It's very important. Constantly attack the workers. Constantly go after the worker production. Keep the pressure going and limit your opponent's economy. Remember the time not 5-7 minutes ago where Wilo had 90 workers? Now he's at 60. So clearly a lot of damage being done here from LaughNgamez. And at the same time, I guess inversely, we have 73 workers from LaughNgamez. So really taking an economic advantage. Army value almost identical. That's actually really cool. Oh, and the Infestors laying down the neural parasites onto the battlecruisers. It's like, okay, how do you beat them? Make them your own. And that's exactly what he's going to do. This is a change that went through in recent years as far as the Infestors able to neural parasite while burrowed, which we saw beautiful utilization of that. LaughNgamez definitely taken off guard. Man, this is a juicy game. Let everyone just sit back, take a breath here, and appreciate everything that's going on the map right now. This is StarCraft right here, as they would say. This is we're stretching it to the max right now. The APM is probably through the roof for these guys. You can see all the bases. By the way, I think M is the APM button. If we want to take, there you go. Yeah, look at all those actions happening right now. 391 average for the Zerg is that's just nuts. It's way up there. There's so many actions happening. It's all clicks. You're just controlling all these units, setting them all every which way. You're controlling your queens. You're injecting your larvae. These guys are flying across their keyboard right now with their hands. The keyboard and mouse, these guys are going crazy. So, LaughNgamez, very focused attack. Straight up the gut with a very powerful unit composition. Tanks, Thors. We've got a battlecruiser overhead. It's going to be aware of those infestors. Got to be a little bit careful about that. You don't want those neural parasites to happen. And a good way to deal with that might be a ghost or two to try to lay down some EMPs to shake off that energy from those infestors. We also have some swarm hosts here trying to get in position. They should probably burrow and send some units to attack. It's probably what I would do here. You want to defend your buildings. Very important. And Nidus also trying to happen, but I think this is LaughNgamez' game. He's going to be laughing and winning this game, because is there an answer to this ferocious mech army? And for now, there's not. He's just marching across the map, doing what he wants at the natural. Now marching to the third. Neural parasites trying to happen, trying to get onto those Thors. We see the scan coming down very quickly from the Terran. He's going to scan those away, and this should be it. I mean, I don't see how Scythe can come back here. The evidence is clearly obvious on the screen in front of us, where the Terran is just doing what he wants. Some more evidence is displayed in the top of the screen here. 190 to 115. That's supply difference. Also the bottom of the screen. 186 to 113 we can see in the supply. So LaughNgamez the clear advantage here. And he's probably going to wrap this up. There it is. LaughNgamez opening up game one with a victory. That was a cool game. I'm a fan. I'm a fan, and of course, Wilo is on the right in our shot here, and LaughNgamez on the left, able to take that one down. But yeah, thinking about the Terran strategy there, as someone who plays random, I definitely want to use the battlecruiser more when I get Terran. But I've never been a strong mech player, so I wonder if a more bio play can work as a transition. But we can see how powerful that was. The battlecruiser able to do some decent damage. She was able to stay sneaky with them, take out a lot of queens early on, and then transition to those Thors while getting those mech upgrades. So just a very nice strategy there from LaughNgamez. Not only getting that early aggression, but focusing his build order to optimize his units as the game went along. So really good moves. And I'm wondering, I mean, definitely something to keep in mind for your own play, Terran players. Even new players, even if you're new to Starcraft, I would try it. Just like rush out a battlecruiser. Rush out a battlecruiser. You would be surprised how many games that will just win you. So there's that to consider. But then on the defensive side, that's something else that there's a lot to consider. Like, how do you properly defend against the battlecruisers? And I don't necessarily have an answer to that. That's a challenge that I've been facing as well, dealing with these early battlecruiser plays. So clearly Wilo not able to hold on there. So you see he's our red Zerg player in the bottom right. And in the bottom left-hand location, or excuse me, top left, we have our blue Terran player, LaughNgamez. As we can see in the bottom, up 1-0. I wonder what button that was. I wonder what button it was. We were looking for it. I want to say it was Alt on the right side of the keyboard. Hotkeys, very fun. Okay, shift. Yes, shift. Okay, now we know. So for reference, if you're changing the scores, it would be left control and a number, and shift alongside a number. I love it. All right, so the challenge is for Wilo here. Oh, I love it. Okay, so Broken Jar in the chat is helping me out with my woes of the battlecruiser. The suggestion from Broken Jar in the chat, he says, queens, spores, and transfuse. You know what? I like that. I like that answer. I really do. Talking about queens in that game. Try to get a critical mass of queens. They're great with the anti-air. They have that energy. They have that transfuse ability. So the weakness there, Broken Jar, if I may, is the lack of mobility. That's where I'm a little nervous about that. Obviously, queens are slow. Spores are static. So obviously creep spread would go along with that. You have to have it, right? If you're getting a lot of queens out, you need a creep spread so that your queens can have mobility, so that they can actually defend against species. Because that's my main. That's why I'm nervous with that a little bit. Is like battlecruisers, are they more mobile than queens? Maybe. Because battlecruisers, sure, they're a little bit slow going across the map, but once they get there, they can just teleport. So it's pretty tricky. You have to be really honest about where you're putting your spores, to Broken Jar's point in the chat. You have to be very honest about where you're putting your spores. Maybe put one in the top side of your base. Maybe put one in the bottom left. Really make sure they're spread out, but not leaving yourself exposed. So, cool answer there. Thanks, Broken Jar. He also said, hopefully tech to Hydras or Corruptor. I think for me, I would lean towards Hydras and a Nidus. I think Hydras, Nidus, and upgrades. Maybe you get an Evo chamber pretty quick, you know? Maybe you get an Evo chamber pretty quick to start that missile upgrade. What do you think about that? You get an Evo chamber pretty quick to get a missile upgrade because that helps your queens and it'll help your Hydras. So in theory, let's say you focus on getting queens out early, you get a spine upgrade out early to supplement your queens, and then by the time your Hydras are on the way, you want +2 missile. And then imagine +2 missile upgraded Hydras with all their upgrades from the Hydra Den, and a Nidus on standby off of 3 or 4 bases. I think that's pretty juicy to really shut down the battlecruiser play. So here we go. We're about to see. We're about to see if our theory crafting is going to materialize here. We're going to see how our Zerg player is going to react, because LaughNgamez is doing a very similar strategy to what he did in the last game. He's going battlecruisers. He's doing it. He's doing what we're talking about. So we get to see, first, can Wilo identify that this is happening? And second, how does his reaction change? How does his response change from the last game? For now, getting the queens early. That's not necessarily indicative that he knows what's going on. It's just a very safe move to make. Find those creep tumors. We have the Overlord coming forward. Looking for the sparkliness. If that tech lab is sparkling, you know they're researching Cloak and you know it's Cloak Banshee. But if it's not sparkling, and it's not, then I think he can pretty much know it's a battlecruiser, and he sees the fusion core. He sees the fusion core. One of the most important things in StarCraft is intel, information. What is your opponent doing? These guys can't see each other. It's not chess where you see what your opponent is doing. No, there's fog of war. You don't know what they're doing, so you have to scout that out and then react appropriately. So he knows the battlecruisers are coming. We're going to look at that production tab very closely. We're going to see how our Zerg player is going to react. Spore crawlers in the mineral lines immediately. See, I don't know how sure I am about this, because I would almost put spores on the edge of my bases. I don't know if I'm as worried about my mineral lines, because how do battlecruisers get there anyway? The battlecruisers have to fly across the map. So would you try to limit that entrance with those spore crawlers rather than putting them in your mineral line? Just a side note, side thought, side question. But we do see a lot of queens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I see 8 queens there. It's pretty good. 10 queens in that units tab. That's juicy. That makes me excited. 10 of queens. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of energy to play with, a lot of creep spread potential. And this is a difference from last game. Willow did not have this many queens in the last game, so already changing up. And look, remember what I said? +1 missile. We see that happening in the production tab. +1 missile upgrade and +1 carapace. I like that. I like the early Evo chambers. Maybe they could have been a little earlier. I'm not so sure. And yes, he does have the spore crawlers, but as I was saying, I'm not so sure about the spore crawlers in the mineral line as much as I maybe would like them on the edge of his bases. I can't necessarily point out where that would be, but like, let's say just above the Vespene Geyser at his natural, just outside the Vespene Geyser at his third. I think you put 2 spores there, and then you're already shutting down the right side of the map and the left side of the map with just 2 spore crawlers. So maybe less spore crawlers in the mineral lines and more towards the edge of his bases, towards his opponent, to limit the ability for the battlecruiser to come forward. Because look here, the battlecruiser right now, the spore crawler is not in range. So imagine if that spore crawler that's in the mineral line right there is on the other side, actually in range of the battlecruiser. Just a little note, food for thought. But certainly Willow doing a better job than last game, really just shutting down the aggression. And you can see, look at the production right now. 18 drones in production. That's one of the best feelings of Zerg. You shut down an attack, and then you spam that D button. You hold it down after hitting your larva. And we just saw 18 drones in production at a time. And he can feel so confident in doing that because 2 reasons. 1, he shut down the battlecruiser. 2, he shut down the Hellions. And he actually killed some Hellions too. And we might hit L. Look at units lost here really quick. 19 to 7, 650 to 700. It's relatively even there, but the important thing there is when you're playing Zerg, it's all about momentum. If you're able to shut down an attack, which you did, shut down the battlecruiser, shut down the Hellions, immediately go into drone production and really try to get an economic advantage. At the same time, taking a 4th base. So Willow doing all the right things here. Willow doing all the right things to react. But at the same time, Terran is also expanding very quickly. So if you're a Zerg player, maybe try to limit that 3rd as much as you can. But maybe Willow getting over here a little bit too late. Thunderbird Ladder Edition has interesting features outside the 3rd. You can see those mineral patches. Little teensy mineral patches outside of the 3rd base. Yeah, right there. There's little mineral patches. You can't get through there. You can't get through there. You need to mine it. So that's just an interesting element of this map where it's just a little bit harder to attack that 3rd base. So while a Zerg player would love to shut down that 3rd base right now, with the map Thunderbird, it's just not as possible. The only way to attack is either a Nidus, which I recommended, or attack up the gut, right? But he's not going to do either. So, because he can't limit the 3rd, guess what Willow is doing? He's taking a 5th. He's taking a 5th base, because he's like, you know what? I can't limit this 3rd. As we see that, oh, this is great, the drone. Oh, he puts the drone in the Vespene, and that gets rid of the mineral. Of course. Beautiful. But as I was saying, Willow not able to limit the 3rd of his opponent, because he's not able to do that, he's just immediately taking a 5th. So instead of trying to crush his opponent, prevent the 3rd while on 3 or 4 bases, he's just getting his 5th base and just taking the economic route. So the Vespene Geyser trick over there is going to get shut down pretty quick by those Hellbats. And we're seeing an identical strategy here from LaughNgamez. And these are the beautiful elements of a best of 3, where sure, you might lose game 1, but then the decisions happen. Do you change your strategy? Do you do the same thing? And we're seeing the Hydras come out, +2 on the way. This is exactly what I was talking about. Again, but I would like to see a Nidus. Would like to see a Nidus, but the Hydra's coming forward. +2's not done. You want 2-2 to be done here. Gosh, I would just really love to see a Nidus from the Zerg right here, just to reinforce a little better. Now he does have a lot of queens, so his creep spread is pretty good. So you could be like, well, he has really good creep spread, so his units can move faster. Therefore, he doesn't need a Nidus as much. But I think I'm always going Nidus in this situation if you have heavy Roach Hydra composition. Now I think he did try Nidus in the last game, so maybe that's why he's not, because it didn't go as well. But his composition is different here. He's already got +2. And that's going to be interesting. I wonder how quickly he jumps into +3. Like 2-2 right now on those Roaches and Hydras. That's really good at this stage, especially his opponent only has 1 upgrade on his mech. So the options here, either you attack with the Nidus right now, but again, we're not seeing the Nidus. Either you attack right now, or you start 3-3 immediately. And there you see it, 3-3. Started immediately for the Zerg. 3-3 Missile Carapace. So a really good attack from the Zerg here would be right when 3-3 finishes. And there we see 2 Niduses, yes, and the crowd goes wild. I wonder if he I wonder if he meant to put it down. He's like, oh wait, I need that, and you just put 2 down immediately. I don't think you want to. I don't think you want 2 of those though. So maybe he was just freaking out that he didn't have those earlier, and he's like, all right, I need to make that, and he accidentally made 2. But anyway, that's what was kind of to be expected there. The Nidus coming out. So here's what we're looking out for. And yeah, you know, 2 Nidus, it just maybe allows him to just be a little bit more creative, a little bit more, exactly, making 2 at a time, so you can plant 1 on, instead of waiting for 1. If it, not that it takes a long time to wait for a Nidus to finish, but he can make 2 at once in different parts of the Terran base. And this is especially good against a mech composition. Mech is not mobile. So if you're able to get a Nidus canal in the production, so first of all, mech is not mobile, and second of all, a mech player is incredibly dependent on their production. So if you're able to get in that production line of the factories and just mess it all up with a very quick Nidus, calculated Nidus attack, that could just straight up lead to victory. So we see the production tab here. 3-3 for the Zerg. It's very important right now. 3-3. It's about 60%. I'm just eyeballing it right now. It's about 60% on that 3-3. So the objective for Wilo here, first of all, he's maxed right now. He's got 4,000 minerals, 1,000 gas. But the objective here is to win once that 3-3 finishes with a ton of Hydras. But I'm going to lower my voice in a dramatic fashion because the Niduses are done. And an objective here is to get a Nidus in your opponent's base. The Terran did a really good job here. He put down some sensor towers, so he's able to see pretty much everything that's going on. There's an Overlord trying to march into the main. A Nidus goes down. He's able to sneak that down. And remember, he can make another one. He has another one going down in the natural expansion of the Terran. So he's got 2 Niduses going down at once here. 1 in the third and 1 in the natural expansion of the Terran base. He's not able to get one in the main, though. Actually, I think he might have started another one in the main. He is going to try to do that. So there's 1 in the main, 1 in the natural, 1 in the third. This is a beautiful situation for the Zerg. 3-3 is not done yet for these Hydras. Okay, 3-3 just finished, so timing it a little bit incorrectly, but let's see if it pans out for him. The battle crews are scurrying back, and actually most of his Hydras and Roaches are attacking the 4th base rather than just attacking the production in the main, which I'm not too sure about because this is a planetary. The SCV is not going to be repairing that, though, not in time, so that did end up working out, but I think that's a little bit more risky than just sending all your Hydras and Roaches to the main and just targeting that production. Because if you go in and lose 20 Hydras, but you kill every factory, what do you think, Broken Jar? Do you think that's successful? Do you think that's enough? Let me know in the chat. I feel like I'd almost prefer that. Like, instead of attacking the 4th and taking out a planetary, would you rather just throw 20 Hydras away, take down all the Terran's production, or as much of it as you can? I think I would prefer that a little bit. So it might still work out here. Wilo finding himself at a supply advantage, but again, 3-3 is done. So he wants to be as effective as possible with that 3-3 while it's done, while his opponent is hopefully behind. The problem is, LaughNgamez, he's been really good with his upgrades too, so he's already at 2-2 with his mech units. Hydras coming forward, nice target fire on those battlecruisers. There's a +3 being felt on those attacks. And now trying to get this command center. Takes on another battlecruiser. These Hydras being so effective. Okay, Broken Jar thinks that you just kill the 4th. Lower the economy on a costly mech army. Yeah, I like it. I think I like both. Either A, you're killing their production so they can't build anything, or B, you're killing their economy so they can't build anything. But I'm just not sure about that planetary, because what if the Terran reacts a little bit better and is repairing that planetary, and you just lose all your units? Like, I just think that's harder to attack than just getting into the production where there's not as much static defense. I think it's a good discussion. All right, Viper's coming forward, abducting those battlecruisers, trying to take those out. Not as many infestors in the fold. In fact, no infestors in the fold. We saw that from LaughNgamez, trying to get those infestors out to do some neural parasites on those battlecruisers. Not doing that this game. And Broken Jar in the chat saying you need some yoinks. We're seeing the yoinks come out from those Vipers. Look out for those yoinks. Pulling those into the Hydras and taking them out. Unfortunately, you cannot yoink a planetary fortress. Could you imagine? What if you could use like 10 Vipers to pull one planetary out of its roots and towards your army? Something like that. So yeah, the focus here, taking out those battlecruisers, looking for those yoinks, as Broken Jar is mentioning in the chat. It's a pretty big Terran army. LaughNgamez approaching max. We have a few attacks also happening on the side of the map, and that command center getting taken out. But the big battle is going to be happening on the Zerg side of the map there. The Thors and the battlecruisers pressing forth. So we are seeing the damage happening on the other side of the map, but can the Zerg hold on over here? Can the Zerg hold on against the attack? The Hydra's coming forward again. They have 3-3. We need those Vipers out. We've had a lot of Vipers actually get taken out, so not as many yoinks are going to be available. We're going from yoinks to yikes right now for the Zerg player, because the less yoinks, the more yikes. As we can see, another Viper, a couple more Vipers coming out, but where's the standing army? Where's the standing army of the Zerg? Where are the Hydras? There's 19 of them somewhere. We see 3 there. There's 1 more. There's 4. Oh, this isn't looking too good for our Zerg. This Terran army just so powerful right now. And now we ask the question, what could the Zerg have done a little bit better here to prevent this all from happening? Because it seems like the Terran is going to win this. It seems like we don't have an answer to the Thors, to the tanks, to the battlecruisers. Yamato cannons onto everything right now from the Terran. And this is probably going to be it. Oh, Vipers are so squishy. Oh, man, the Vipers melt away so fast. You got to keep those super safe. Man, I wonder if Vipers should have a little bit more health there. That seemed pretty crazy. There it is. GG LaughNgamez, laughing and gaming his way to a 2-0 victory over Wilo. Of course, that is LaughNgamez on the left-hand side of your screen, Wilo on the right. Cool. Cool game there, cool match. Pretty close overall, as we see. Very nice sportsmanship from these guys. Nice shake of the hand. What's up? I'm back. I'm AxelToss, here commentating some Starcraft at the Gaming Stadium in Vancouver, British Columbia, in the wonderful country of Canada. Again, feel free to come by. This is an awesome venue. The computer room is actually in front of me on the other side of the setup we're in. Of course, we have the stadium behind me with all the seats. We have the stage back there as well. And in front of me, you can't necessarily see it, there's a huge gaming room. I'm actually counting the computers right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Times 2 is 12. 1, 2, I'm not this good at math. 12. It's at least 60 computers. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. There's like 60 computers over there. And I guarantee you they have like crazy graphics card, really good monitors. It's just a ridiculous setup. This is a dream venue right here. So if you are within a 3-hour drive, yes, I'm talking to you, those of you in Seattle. If you're within a 3-hour flight, yes, I'm talking to you, Archnog. I think you're in Virginia right now. That's a little bit longer than 3 hours. But hey, you can make it out here. Come check out this venue if you're local, if you're in the area. It's a really cool space. And we're currently watching a Starcraft tournament. $1,500 prize pool. And what's really fun about that is we had 12 registered players. So 8 of the 12 players will get paid. So you Starcraft people, look out for these events, because there's actually opportunity to get some side cash. I'll tell you a quick story. For fun, I signed up for the Rocket League tournament at PAX West, and I got top 8, and I got like $100. So it's like, go play. Go look for these events because you don't know who's going to put up money. Keep practicing your games and just go play because it's fun. You get some competition in, and you might get paid a little bit of money. So with that being said, we are down with 2 rounds here at the Gaming Stadium. We're in a round-robin stage for this $1,500 Starcraft tournament. We're going to go through the round-robin stage. The top 4 from each group, 2 groups, top 4 will advance to a double elimination 8-person bracket, and we're doing all that today. So if you're in Canada, come hang out. Tell your friends the stream is on. Watch some Starcraft. I'm gonna hop off here. I'm gonna go talk to these guys. It's been fun hanging out and talking to these guys that are here playing StarCraft. So we're gonna take a quick break here from the Gaming Stadium. When we come back, we're gonna have another best of 3 from round 3 of this tournament. We'll see you then.